The stars of the Vortex Nebula burned bright above the massive arena of Zakar Prime. It was not just a building. It was a monument, miles wide, made of living metal and humming energy. The arena floated between two planets. From a distance, it looked like a giant eye staring into the endless dark. And tonight, that I was watching history. Billions of beings gathered to witness the Apex Challenge, the greatest contest in the galaxy. Every advanced species, every empire, every world with pride in its strength had come to prove itself. And at the very center of it all stood one woman, Dr. Mara Holt, Earth's representative. Mara was not a soldier, not a general, not a fighter. She was a scientist, calm, quiet, and very human. She stood behind a transparent shield on the observation deck, looking down at the glowing arena floor far below. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes, calm but sharp, reflected the light of the stars. Around her, alien officials whispered and laughed. "Earth? They sent a human?" one said, his scaled lips curling. "A scientist, no less," another hissed, his eyes blinking sideways. "Do they plan to calculate their way to victory?" Laughter spread through the council seats, echoing like soft thunder. Mara ignored them. She was too busy watching the gates. 7 gates, carved with alien symbols, lined the arena. Each gate would soon open, one for each empire's apex predator. A deep voice echoed through the comms. "Council, prepare for the first entry. Species, Varnock Dominion." The first gate opened. From the darkness, a giant beast stepped out, a mountain of muscle and bone, covered in scales black as night. Its eyes glowed orange. Its claws were long enough to slice a tank in half. The crowd cheered. The creature roared, shaking the metal floor. Then came the next, a creature from the Trailani swarm, a mass of wings and claws, each movement sharp and perfect. It let out a high-pitched scream that made the lights flicker. Gate after gate opened, each beast bigger, louder, deadlier. The crowd roared. The air vibrated with power and pride. Every species showed off its best, its strongest creation, its ultimate weapon. And then, finally, it was Earth's turn. The voice on the comm grew uncertain. "Next, representation from Earth. Terran Alliance, gate opening now." Every alien turned to look. They expected something strange. Perhaps a monstrous human war machine, or maybe one of the dangerous Earth animals they had read about. Lions, tigers, wolves. Creatures that even aliens respected. The gate opened slowly. Steam hissed. Light poured out. And then silence. Standing in the gateway was not a beast, not a machine. It was a small child, a human toddler, no taller than a chair, chubby cheeks, wide brown eyes, a small green shirt with a cartoon dinosaur on it, and in one tiny hand he held a cookie. The crowd didn't react at first. It was too strange a process. Then laughter, deep, roaring laughter that echoed through the arena like thunder. "Is this a joke?" one alien shouted. "Did Earth misunderstand the invitation?" another said. "Where is their predator?" Dr. Mara Holt remained still. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She only watched. The toddler looked around, confused by the noise. He dropped a few crumbs and looked at his cookie. Then he looked up at the crowd. His little eyebrows pulled down into a frown. The laughter grew louder. The arena announcer even struggled to speak. Participant identified as human juvenile male, approximately 2 Earth years old. No, recorded combat abilities. Mara finally spoke into her calm. Her voice was calm. Confirmed visual feed. He's the correct participant. The alien beside her turned, his eyes wide. "You're serious?" "Completely," she said. Down below, the toddler took a few wobbly steps forward. He looked up at the massive monsters around him. the scaled one from Varnock, the winged terror from Trelawney, the mechanical beast from Draxus Prime. They stared back, confused, as if they didn't understand what they were seeing. The toddler tilted his head. Then, quietly, he took a bite of his cookie. The alien council started to shout. "This is an insult," one barked. "Earth mocks a challenge." Mara turned to them. Her voice remained soft, but it carried through the noise. "You asked for each world's apex predator," she said. "Yes," the alien roared. "And you send this?" "Yes," she said again. "That is humanity's choice." She looked back at the arena. Her lips curved slightly, not a smile of pride, but one of quiet understanding. The toddler had dropped his cookie. It hit the floor and broke in half. He froze. His little face twisted. His bottom lip began to shake. Up in the observation deck, a human technician whispered, "Oh no." Dr. Mara Holt simply nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "Now you'll see." The arena lights flickered. The air grew heavy. A faint vibration spread to the ground. Soft at first, then stronger. The laughter faded. Something unseen had just changed. And for the first time that night, the galaxy strong. The silence in the arena lasted only a heartbeat. Then came the laughter. It began with a low chuckle from one of the council boxes, then spread like a wave across the stands. Soon, the entire galactic arena was shaking with laughter. Beasts growled, creatures hissed, but every intelligent being watching was laughing at the same thing. Earth's ridiculous choice. A toddler, a tiny, harmless, squishy human child standing in the center of the arena, clutching a half-broken cookie. Some aliens fell out of their seats, wheezing with amusement. One of the commentators could barely speak. "Ladies and gentle beings, the Terran representative has indeed sent a child, a human infant. I don't think the galaxy has ever seen such bold humor." Even the other combatants, the monsters in the ring, began to stir in confusion. The great winged predator from a Trelawney swarm tilted its head, clicking its sharp beak. The massive reptilian from the Varnock Dominion snorted smoke through its nostrils, puzzled. Then one alien general, a tall creature made of shifting crystal plates, spoke through the intercom. "This is mockery. The Terrans disgrace the challenge." Dr. Mara Holt, still standing in the observation booth, didn't flinch. She kept her hands folded behind her back, watching the little boy below. The child looked up at the crowd, blinking in the bright lights, unaware of the mockery. He bent down to pick up the cookie pieces. His small hands trembled. One crumb slipped away. He looked at it for a moment. Then his lips quivered. Mara whispered under her breath, "Oh no." In the corner of the booth, her assistant, a young human technician named Leo, frowned. "Ma'am, his emotional levels are spiking." "Of course they are," she said softly. "He's 2 years old." Down in the arena, the Varnock beast growled, impatient. It took one heavy step forward. The ground shook. The toddler looked up. His big brown eyes met the monster's glowing orange ones. The crowd gasped. Cameras zoomed in. The toddler's face began to twist. His cheeks puffed up. His eyebrows furrowed. And then he screamed. It wasn't a normal cry. It wasn't even a sound that belonged to something small. It was pure, raw, emotional energy, the kind only a furious toddler could make, multiplied by something the galaxy didn't yet understand. The sound hit like a shockwave. The arena floor cracked. The lights flickered, sparks raining from the ceiling. The Varnock beast roared back in anger, but then it stumbled, as if invisible hands had shoved it. The crowd's laughter died instantly. Another scream followed. Higher, louder. The sound made every creature in the stands flinch. A few beings with sensitive hearing collapsed, clutching their heads. In the observation booth, Screens went red. Unidentified energy output detected, Leo said, his voice shaking. It's coming from him. Keep your reading steady, Mara said, her tone calm but firm. We knew this might happen. Down below, the toddler stomped his foot. The ground rippled like water. The cookie fragments floated into the air, surrounded by faint blue light. The Varnock beast tried to roar again. But this time, its roar broke apart into static, as if the air itself refused to carry the sound. Something invisible was pushing back. The toddler's tantrum grew worse. He screamed again, waving his small fists. The floating cookie crumbs shot outward like bullets, punching dents into the metal arena floor. A massive energy surge followed, spreading out in a ring. Dust and debris flew everywhere. Half the arena lights exploded. The crowd screamed, not with laughter, but with fear. Inside the booth, Leo stared at the monitors. Ma'am, readings are off the scale. He's emitting psionic energy. Yes, Mara said simply. That's what happens when you mix human emotion with raw potential. He's not controlling it. It's instinct. You mean he doesn't even know he's doing it? Mara nodded. He's just angry. The toddler cried again, this time tears streaming down his cheeks. But every tear that fell glowed faintly as it hit the floor. The energy waves pulsed with each sob, shaking the arena structure. Restrain it! Someone from the Galactic Council shouted over the intercom. Contain the human child. Negative, said Mara, calmly adjusting her earpiece. You touch him, and he'll scream louder. Outside, the great winged predator tried to leap at the child, hoping to end the chaos. It didn't even reach him. The moment it left the ground, a violent burst of force threw it backward. The beast crashed into the wall, wings shattered. The energy field shimmered around a toddler like heat haze. Every being watching now understood. This was not a joke. This was not mockery. This was something they couldn't control. Mara watched quietly, her eyes sad but proud. He's scared, she murmured. He doesn't want to fight. He just wants his cookie. The crowd had gone completely silent. The Galactic Council members stared in disbelief, unable to speak. The Varnock beast, once proud, now backed away from the trembling child. The energy finally began to fade. The air settled, though faint tremors still ran through the ground. The toddler hiccuped, rubbing his eyes, sniffling softly. Then, in the hush that followed, Mara spoke into her mic. Her voice echoed across the arena. You asked for Earth's apex predator, she said softly. Now you've met him. And with that, every alien in the arena realized something terrifying. If this was only a child, what would an adult human be capable of? For a long, trembling second, the arena stood in silence. Smoke drifted from broken lights. Sparks fell like tiny stars. Every creature in the stands waited, holding its breath. The toddler stood alone in the center of the chaos. Cheeks wet, fists clenched, cookie crumbs scattered at his feet. His small chest rose and fell fast, like a storm building in a tiny body. Then came the sound, a deep, shaky sob. It echoed across the arena louder than any roar before it. He wasn't angry anymore. He was heartbroken. Mara Holt, watching from the observation booth above, whispered to herself, Here it comes. Her assistant Leo stared at the monitors. His energy levels are rising again. Ma'am, it's doubling. Mara didn't answer. She pressed one hand against the glass, looking down at the child with a mix of pity and pride. Below, the toddler dropped to his knees and cried. His scream this time was raw emotion. Sadness, fear, confusion. Everything a child feels when something precious is lost. The arena floor cracked beneath him. Glowing lines spread from where he knelt, glowing blue like rivers of light. The sound system exploded in static. The giant screens flickered, then went dark. The crowd panicked. Beings of all species rushed for the exits, shouting in fear. "Contain it! Contain the human!" someone screamed. But there was no containing it now. The air vibrated, bending like waves of heat. The floating dust began to rise. Then heavier things followed. Metal shards, broken pieces of wall, and even the massive corpses of fallen predators. Everything lifted, spinning slowly around the crying child. Leo's voice shook. He's altering gravity. He's rewriting the physical field. Mara nodded. He doesn't know it. He's just reacting. Every human child does this, just not at this scale. Inside the arena, the Varnock beast tried once more to move. It roared in panic, taking one heavy step forward, and froze midair. The pressure crushed its chest inward with a terrible cracking sound. It never hit the ground. It just vanished into dust. The energy field flared. The toddler wailed louder. All across Zakar Prime, machines went offline. Power grids shut down. Satellites glitched. The entire arena floated 1 meter above its foundation before crashing back down again, shaking the nearby mountains. Mara's calm voice came through the comms. "Evacuate the outer sectors. Now!" Leo looked at her, eyes wide. "You knew this could happen, didn't you?" "I hoped it wouldn't," she said. "But Earth warned the Council. You asked for our apex predator. This is instinct. Pure human emotion amplified by quantum resonance." Down below, the toddler's cries turned to frustrated yells. He kicked the ground, and each stomp sent another pulse of force outward. Beams of light cut across the arena as gravity itself bent and snapped. One of the alien cameras caught his face, eyes glowing faintly blue, tears floating upward, lips trembling. The galactic broadcast kept running. Billions across the stars were watching live. On hundreds of planets, alien citizens stared at their screens in horror and disbelief. A single human child was tearing apart a combat arena built to contain armies. The council chamber erupted in chaos. "Shut it down! End the transmission!" someone shouted. "Impossible!" replied another. "The systems are fried." Inside the booth, Leo's readings jump higher. He's absorbing energy now. "Ma'am, he's feeding off the field itself." Mara exhaled slowly. He's copying what he sees. The creatures scared him, so now he's acting like them. Down below, the toddler stood up again, small, shaking, furious. He raised one tiny hand. The air around him twisted. All at once, the floating debris shot outward. Metal, stone, and dust blasted across the arena, slamming into the walls. The sound was deafening. The toddler screamed again, louder than before. The roof split open. A beam of blue-white light shot upward into the sky, piercing the clouds, spreading out like a beacon visible from orbit. The audience could only stare in silence. Then, slowly, the beam faded. The air grew still. Floating debris fell to ground, clattering one by one. In the center stood the toddler, small, sniffling, shaking, surrounded by destruction. The mighty predators of the galaxy lay silent, defeated, or gone. The once proud arena was a broken crater. Mara finally spoke, her voice calm to the broadcast. "Now you understand why we do not measure strength by muscle or size." Leo swallowed hard. "What do we do now?" "Now," Mara said softly, "we calm him down." She leaned into the mic and spoke in the gentlest tone she could manage. "Hey, buddy, it's okay. Mommy's here." The toddler blinked. The blue glow in his eyes faded. His tiny hands opened. The energy field vanished. He looked around, confused, then sniffled. "Cookie?" he asked softly. Mara smiled. "We'll get you a new one, sweetheart." The arena fell completely silent. Smoke rose from the shattered ground, the last bits of light flickering out. Across the galaxy, every watching species sat frozen, unable to speak. They had seen beasts. They had seen weapons. They had seen armies. But never had they seen a creature so small bring the universe itself to its knees, without meaning to. Dr. Mara Holt turned away from the glass and whispered to herself, "Never make a human child cry." And with that, the apex challenge, the proud tradition of galactic strength, ended forever. Smoke still rose from the ruined arena below. What had once been a shining monument of galactic pride was now a broken crater filled with glowing dust. The mighty beast that once roared proudly now lay scattered, silent, or gone. Up above, in the Council's observation deck, chaos had taken over. Alien officials shouted over one another in panic. Some tried to flee. Others demanded explanations. And a few simply stared through glass, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. Shut down the arena. Cut power to the human sector. Seal the planet. The command center lights flickered. Monitors sparked, showing only static and smoke. Every emergency system had failed. In the middle of that storm of voices, Dr. Mara Holt stood still. She didn't move, didn't shout, didn't even blink. Her eyes stayed fixed on the small shape at the center of the chaos below. The tiny boy sitting quietly in a pile of dust, holding a broken piece of metal like it was a toy. Beside her, Leo was pale. His voice shook. "Ma'am, the Council's demanding answers. They're saying Earth brought a weapon." Mara's voice was calm. "He's not a weapon, Leo. He's just a child." A voice boomed across the deck. Counselor Vorn, a massive creature of shimmering scales and gold eyes. His voice was deep and trembling with anger. "A child just destroyed our arena. Are you saying that thing isn't dangerous?" Mara finally turned to face him. Her gaze was steady. "I'm saying he didn't mean to do it." Vorn slammed one clawed hand against the railing. "You call this accident? He killed beasts bred for war." He tore apart reinforced steel with his voice. "What kind of monster do you call a child?" The other council members murmured in fear. Mara took a slow breath. "On Earth," she said, "we have a saying, never wake a sleeping baby. It's not because the baby will attack you. It's because once it cries, nothing can stop it." The room went quiet. Leo looked at her nervously. "Doctor, maybe you should explain." She nodded. "When humans are born," she said softly, "they're weak, small, defenseless. But inside, their minds are wide open. Their emotions are pure, raw energy, unfiltered by logic. That's what makes us human. We feel before we think." Counselor Vorn hissed. "Feelings do not destroy cities." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Not yours, maybe, but human emotion isn't simple chemical reaction. It's force. When our species first evolved, we didn't just learn to survive, we believed we could. And belief, for us, changes reality." Several aliens exchanged uncertain glances. Mara stepped closer to the window. The arena below shimmered with fading blue light. "That child doesn't know how to fight," she continued. "He doesn't understand fear or strength. But when he feels something deeply, sadness, anger, pain, his mind reaches for balance. The universe listens." Counselor Vorn slammed his tail. "You're saying emotion bends physics?" Mara smiled faintly. "I'm saying human emotion rewrites it." The council chamber fell silent again. Only the hum of broken machinery filled the air. Through the glass, they could all see the boy again, calm now, playing quietly with glowing shard, tracing shapes in the dust. The glow around him had faded, but the memory of that terrible power lingered in everyone's mind. One of the smaller counselors, a thin being of silver mist, whispered, "And if the child had been older?" Mara's eyes softened. "Then you wouldn't be standing here." That simple answer sent chills through the room. Leo leaned toward her and whispered, "Ma'am, I think they're beginning to understand." She nodded slowly. "Good. They should." The council turned back to her, demanding again, "Why would Earth send such a creature here? Was this some kind of threat?" Mara shook her head. "No threat. You asked for each world's apex predator. We followed the rule." Vorn growled, "That's not a predator. That's chaos." Mara's calm voice carried over the panic. "Exactly. Humanity's greatest weapon has never been claws or fangs. It's unpredictability. Emotion. A predator kills because it must. A human acts because it feels. You can prepare for hunger or logic, but you can't prepare for love, fear, or grief. You can't predict a heart." The council chamber was silent again. Every alien's eyes were fixed on her. Mara stepped back toward the glass. The boy yawned, rubbed his eyes, and toppled over, asleep in the crater he'd made. A faint blue shimmer wrapped around him like a blanket. Leo whispered, almost smiling, "He's asleep." Mara smiled faintly. "Good. He's calm again." Vorn stared at the scene below, his golden eyes reflecting the faint glow. And what happens if he wakes again? Mara's expression didn't change. "Then I suggest everyone in this system learns to whisper." That answer sent a ripple of uneasy laughter through the deck, but no one truly found it funny. Below, drones began to descend, scanning the ruins and collecting samples. Every one of them avoided getting too close to the child. Mara turned to Leo. "Prepare extraction. We're bringing him home." "Yes, ma'am." As she walked toward the exit, Vorn called after her, "Dr. Holt." She stopped and looked back. "What do we tell the galaxy?" he demanded. "What message does Earth send after this disaster?" Mara paused, then said softly, "Tell them the truth." "The truth?" She gave a small, tired smile. "That you asked for predators." She nodded toward the child below. "And you met one who doesn't even know what he is yet." Without another word, she walked out of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the broken silence. Behind her, the council watched the sleeping toddler, small, harmless, and impossibly dangerous. And somewhere deep in their minds, every one of them knew they would never look at humanity the same way again. The recovery drones moved carefully across the wrecked arena, scanning the ruins for survivors. The air shimmered with leftover energy, and the ground still smoked from the Tantrum's aftermath. At the center of it all, the toddler slept peacefully, curled up among the debris, one tiny hand clutching a glowing shard of metal like a favorite toy. Every drone that came too close short-circuited. Sparks popped, sensors failed, and machines fell silent. Something unseen still protected him. A faint pulse of invisible power that kept the galaxy's finest technology at bay. Up above, in the Council's controlled chamber, tension hung heavy. Counselor Vorn paced back and forth, his golden scales catching the light. "We must contain the child," he hissed. "No creature should wield such power unchecked." Dr. Mara Holt stood near the observation window, her arms crossed. Her voice was calm, but firm. "Containment won't work. He's not dangerous by choice. He's dangerous by nature." Leo, her young assistant, looked between them nervously. "He's still asleep, right? He's not waking up." Mara checked the monitor. The child's vitals glowed steady green. "He's dreaming." That's the best-case scenario. Dreams keep his emotions stable. Vorn slammed his tail against the floor. "Stable? That thing nearly destroyed half a city. How do you call this stable?" Mara turned toward him. "Because he's sleeping. Be grateful." The alien council exchanged fearful looks. Finally, a smaller creature, one of the data scientists, floated closer and whispered, "Perhaps we could study it, measure the power directly, understand what makes it so." Vorn's eyes narrowed. Agreed. Bring in a containment unit. Carefully. Mara's expression darkened. Don't. But they didn't listen. Minutes later, a massive hover tank descended into the arena. It carried a glowing blue cube, a containment field designed to trap stars, the kind of tool meant for gods. The cube lowered around the child. Energy beams connected, humming softly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the toddler twitched. Mara felt it before she saw it. The glass in front of her vibrated. Her stomach sank. "They've made a mistake," she whispered. Leo glanced at the screen. His heart rate just spiked. He's waking up. Down below, the boy stirred, eyes fluttering open, his small face scrunched in confusion. The blue glow of the containment field surrounded him like a cage. He pressed one hand against the invisible wall. It hummed. The sound annoyed him. Deactivate. Mara ordered through the comms. Now! But the alien operator hesitated. We're still calibrating. The boy frowned. And then came the sound. Not a scream this time. A low, sharp whine. The sound a child makes right before crying. The sound that every parent in the galaxy should fear. The containment field flickered. The operators panicked. It's destabilizing. Power levels dropping. He's draining the field. In seconds, the blue cube collapsed inward, not breaking but melting. The energy twisted, folding into itself as if swallowed by invisible gravity. The toddler sat up, staring at the wreckage of the cube. His lower lip trembled. His tiny voice echoed through the shattered arena. Bad box. The temperature dropped instantly. Frost crawled across the walls. Air shimmered like heat haze, only colder, sharper. Mara gripped the railing. They shouldn't have scared him. Counselor Vorn shouted, "What's happening now?" Mara's eyes didn't leave the child. He's mad. The boy stood up. His eyes glowed blue again, brighter than before. The air vibrated as if reality itself was afraid to move. The nearest drone exploded without warning. Another was crushed flat by invisible force. The child's voice was soft, trembling. "Want cookie?" And then everything went wrong. A wave of energy pulsed outward, flattening everything in its path. The arena's walls bent like soft metal. Debris floated up, spinning around him in perfect circles. Not chaos this time, but control. Leo whispered, "He's learning." Mara nodded grimly. Yes, he's starting to understand. The council chamber shook. Emergency alarms blared. Screen shattered. The child looked up toward the window, toward the observers, and for one chilling moment, his glowing eyes met Mara's. Then he stomped. The impact sent a shock wave through the entire arena complex. Towers cracked. Windows blew out. Ships hovering nearby were thrown backward. Even the stars outside the viewing dome seemed to flicker. Vorn fell to the floor, roaring in panic. "Shut him down. Do something." Mara's voice cut through the noise like steel. "You can't fight what you don't understand." She grabbed the comm unit. "Patch me through to the audio feed." Leo hesitated. "Ma'am." "Do it." The speakers crackled to life. Mara took a deep breath and spoke softly, her voice calm, muddily, steady. "Hey, little one," she said gently. "It's okay. You're safe. Nobody's mad at you." The boy froze. The debris around him stopped spinning. His glowing eyes flickered. "You're not in trouble," Mara continued. "It's all right. Mommy's here." The words hit something deep inside him, something more powerful than anger. The light faded. The frost melted. The air grew still. The toddler blinked, then rubbed his eyes with his small fists. He sniffled once and whispered, "Mommy?" "Yes," Mara said softly, tears forming in her eyes. "Mommy's here." The boy's energy field collapsed gently like a sigh. He stumbled, exhausted, and sat down among the ruins. The ground stopped shaking. Silence filled the arena once more. The council members slowly stood, trembling, their faces pale. Vorn looked at Mara with fear and awe. You controlled her with words? She shook her head. Not words. Emotion. That's what connects us. That's what makes us human. Vorn stared at her for a long moment, then turned to the shattered world below. If this is what a child can do, he whispered, then what are the adults like? Mara didn't answer. She just looked down at the sleeping boy and whispered, You don't want to know. The arena was silent at last. Dust hung in the air like fog. Pieces of metal and stone floated slowly to the ground, landing with soft echoes. The bright lights that once lit the stadium were gone, replaced by a faint blue glow that pulsed gently from the child's sleeping form. The galaxy's proudest stage, the home of the Apex Challenge, was nothing more than a crater, and in the middle of it, the toddler slept peacefully, his little head resting on his arm. Up above, the observation deck looked like a battlefield too. Cracked glass, broken screens, and frightened faces filled the chamber. Alien officials spoke in whispers, afraid that even their voices might wake the human child again. Dr. Mara Holt stood quietly, her hands resting on the railing. She didn't look at the others. Her eyes stayed locked on the small figure below. Beside her, Leo's voice was barely a whisper. Is it over? Mara nodded slowly. For now. Counselor Vorn, once so proud and loud, spoke with shaking voice. He stopped, just like that. Mara turned toward him. Yes, because someone showed him kindness. Vorn blinked, his golden eyes wide. You're telling me that all our weapons, our machines, our power, none of it could stop him, but a few soft words could. Mara smiled faintly. That's humanity's secret. We fight with feeling. We build with it too. And sometimes we calm the storm with it. The council fell silent. Through the cracked window, they could see the cleanup drone slowly returning, hovering carefully around the sleeping boy. This time, the energy field did not push them away. The air was still safe again. One drone extended a scanner arm near the child, taking readings. Its monitor flashed strange symbols. It transmitted a message back to the council chamber. Energy output, immeasurable. Residual field, stable. Emotional trigger, comfort. Leo frowned. Comfort? That's what stopped it. Mara nodded. Humans draw strength from emotion, not just anger or fear. Love, care, trust, those are the real anchors. That's why I said never make a human child cry. Vorn turned away from the glass, his claws tapping the floor nervously. The galaxy must never see this again. That child is a weapon. Your entire species is a threat. Mara's voice grew sharp. He's not a weapon. He's a lesson. Vorn froze. A lesson? Yes, she said firmly. That your kind measures strength by destruction, by fear, by control. But humanity measures strength by what we protect, not what we destroy. No one spoke. The silence felt heavy, almost sacred. Below, the toddler shifted in his sleep, letting out a tiny sigh. Everyone in the chamber jumped. Even Vorn stepped back. Leo tried to hide a nervous chuckle. It's kind of funny. The galaxy's strongest species, scared of a nap. Mara gave him a small, tired smile, as they should be. Hours later, emergency teams from across the sector arrived. The Apex Arena was quarantined, sealed under layers of shielding and silence. Reporters gathered in orbit, sending out fragmented transmissions full of half-truths and rumors. Some said Earth had cheated. Others said they had unleashed an ancient weapon. But none of them knew the truth. Mara sat in a quiet medical bay, watching over the child as he slept on a soft bed. His cheeks were still red from crying. A small monitor, beside him beeped gently. Leo stood nearby, looking uncertain. You think he'll remember any of this? Mara shook her head. No, but the galaxy will. She reached out, brushing the child's hair from his forehead. He doesn't even understand what he did. He just wanted a cookie. And when the world scared him, it broke. Leo laughed weakly. So humanity's greatest weapon is feelings. Mara looked up at him. No, our greatest power is empathy. Every other species builds walls to control power. We build hearts to hold it. Leo nodded slowly, finally understanding. The door hissed open. Counselor Vorn entered, walking slowly, his armor scratched and dulled by the chaos. He stopped at the foot of the bed, staring down at the sleeping child. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in a voice low and uncertain, he asked, What will you do with him? Mara looked up. Raise him. Teach him. Help him learn to live without fear. And what will you tell the galaxy? Mara smiled. The truth. Vorn tilted his head. And that is that Earth won the challenge. Vorn blinked. You call this victory? Yes, she said softly. Because no one died who didn't choose to fight. Because now, maybe, the galaxy understands what strength really means. The alien stared at her for a moment longer, then bowed his head slightly, not in submission, but in respect. Your species frightens me, Doctor. Good, Mara said gently. That means you'll be careful. Later, when the council released their final report, it was short and simple. Do not provoke humanity. Do not anger their young. And never, under any circumstance, take their cookies. The word spread across the stars, half warning, half legend. And as for the toddler, he slept through it all, safe in a small bed, clutching a new cookie in his tiny hand. Outside, the broken arena glowed faintly in the starlight. Ships came and went, carrying news, theories, and fear. But among the whispers, one truth echoed louder than any. The galaxy had met Earth's apex predator, and it was innocence itself. Mara looked out at the stars, her voice barely a whisper. Let them laugh, she said softly, until they hear a child cry again. The apex arena was gone. What remained was a scar, a vast crater surrounded by silence. No rebuilding crews entered it. No ships hovered too close. The space around Zakar Prime was declared a memorial zone, a place the galaxy would forever remember as the day humanity changed everything. Weeks had passed since the event, yet the memory still burned in every mind that had witnessed it. The footage of the Terran child incident became the most watched recording in galactic history. Every species had seen it. Every empire had debated it. But none dared to challenge Earth again. In the high halls of the Galactic Council, a new session began. The Great Chamber was quieter now, the usual boasting and speeches replaced by uneasy calm. Counselor Vorn sat at the central table, his golden scales dull under the soft lights. He was no longer angry. He looked older, wiser, and maybe a little afraid. A hollow screen flickered to life, showing Dr. Marholt live from Earth. Behind her, the blue curve of the planet glowed peacefully. Vorn's voice was low but steady. Dr. Holt, the Council wishes to confirm that the Apex Challenge has been formally ended. Mara nodded. It should have ended long ago. A murmur ran through the chamber. The words carried more weight than law. Another counselor spoke, her voice thin like glass. Do you realize what your child has done? Entire civilizations now fear your world. Mara smiled faintly. Then they finally learned something useful. Useful? The counselor echoed, stunned. Mara's tone stayed calm. Fear is the start of respect, and respect is the start of peace. The chamber fell silent again. Vorn shifted uncomfortably. We have drafted new regulations, universal protocols regarding Terran contact. Read them. Mara said. Vorn nodded, then spoke slowly, his voice carrying across the hall. Article 1. No member of the Galactic Union shall provoke, restrain, or threaten a human under any circumstance. Article 2. No entity shall remove or damage a human child's comfort object, including toys, food, or cookies. Article 3. The Apex Challenge is permanently discontinued. And finally, Article 4. All species are considered emotional volatility as a primary factor in strength classification. He paused, looking up from the text. In other words, emotion is now a form of power. Mara nodded slowly. It always was. You just never noticed. The counselors murmured again, exchanging glances. Some looked humbled. Others looked scared. But none argued. Outside the chamber, across the stars, the message spread, the lesson of the galaxy. On the cold moons of the Varnock Dominion, soldiers told stories of the tiny human god. In the great cities of the Traylon Swarm, they taught their young never to make a human cry. Even the machine worlds of Draxus Prime updated their logic cores to include a new command: do not engage emotional humans. Probability of survival, 0.02%. What began as a contest had become a myth, a warning whisper across star systems. On Earth, far from the fear and formality of space, the toddler at the center of it all sat in a sunny park. He giggled as he chased a butterfly, tiny feet thumping across soft grass. A half-eaten cookie sat beside his toy spaceship. Morrow watched from a nearby bench, holding a datapad that showed a dozen messages from the Galactic Council, requests for cooperation, peace treaties, scientific partnerships. Leo sat beside her, grinning. He's famous across 1,000 worlds and doesn't even know it. Mara chuckled. That's the best part. Let him stay innocent. Let the galaxy remember what innocence can do. Leo leaned back, staring at the sky. They used to call us weak, primitive, unpredictable. They still will, Mara said. But now they'll add one more word. What's that? She smiled. Unstoppable. Later that night, when the child was asleep, Mara opened her report log. She began typing her final entry. Project. Apex response. Final note. The experiment is complete. Emotional energy confirmed as the most powerful known force in the galaxy. Hypothesis. Humanity's strength is not an aggression, but an empathy amplified through feeling. Conclusion. The galaxy sought a monster and found a child. The child cried, and the stars trembled. She paused, then added one final line. Recommendation. Never test Earth's patience again. She saved the file, closed the pad, and looked out her window. The stars outside seemed quieter now, as if they too were thinking. Back in the council chamber, Vorn spoke to the assembly one last time. We once believed strength meant power. We thought it was domination, fear, survival. But we were wrong. He looked around the hall, his voice soft. The humans showed us that true strength comes from the heart, and that the smallest among them can shake the universe when that heart breaks. A stillness followed, the kind that only comes when truth finally settles in. The session ended with no applause, no celebration, just understanding. Across the galaxy, monuments were built, not to honor victory, but to remember humility. Each statue showed a small child holding a cookie surrounded by light. At the base of every monument, the same words were carved in every language. Never make a human child cry. On Earth, Mara tucked the toddler into bed. He yawned, rubbing his eyes. Mommy, he mumbled sleepily. Yes, sweetheart. Did I do good? Mara smiled, brushing his hair gently. You did perfect. He smiled, half asleep. Can I have another cookie tomorrow? Of course, she whispered. You've earned it. The child drifted into dreams, peaceful and quiet. Outside, the stars shimmered, not in fear this time, but in respect. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, a whisper traveled through space and time, a quiet voice repeating the lesson that changed the universe forever. Every world sent its predator. Earth sent child.